one of the things is it's like the experience I went through is it's like incomprehensible to me, even from here, even though so it's really hard to talk about. And for a long time, I was actually a bit almost like a bit mute about the experiences because it was just such a different realm that the transfer between the two was difficult. And there was a big sort of split in my experience as well, whereas there was a kind of surface level that was still operating, and then a like internal level that was entirely different. And I think that this is almost one of the important things around psychosis. It's like these different realms that people can be in that are more, like showing different parts of experience. And so my feeling, my feeling around psychosis is that I can't speak to all psychosis, but a very strong feeling and sense that it's generally something meaningful that's coming through. And it's really a lot more like healing to be able to relate to it in that way. And almost like holding that frame is one of the differences between having a spiritual experience and having a really difficult experience. And sometimes that meaning is that the person has a huge amount of trauma. And so the thing that's coming out is kind of like very sort of like aggressive or unhelpful perspectives on the world, because it's the trauma that's in their body or in their sort of social emotional system that is trying to kind of like get out and express and heal and work through its process. But the sense of like, it's almost, I think this is one of the strongest influences from Jung, is it's almost like the way that we hold things really influences how they emerge. And so if we can kind of like hold people with the basic dignity of kind of fundamental sanity, and this thing is meaningful, and what's a sort of like healthy whole way to explore this, like through art therapy or through kind of imaginal stuff, or what's the thing that wants to get out? Why does it want to get out? Why is it being distorted? That feels really important. And then, I guess on the kind of other end of the spectrum, I've also kind of seen psychosis where it's gone off the rails in terms of someone really being a danger to themselves and others. And from that perspective, like clearly there's time and space for medication and like putting people's safety first, and kind of like modern, more like medical ways of holding it. It sort of feels like it's obviously a difficult topic with lots of different facets. But I think that sense of holding it with compassion is probably the bit that feels the most important if I had to distill.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of what you're saying is, I think James Hillman talks a lot about this. I've been reading James Hillman. He's also a Jungian psychologist and kind of like one of like the creators of soul making, this concept of soul making. And, and I know you're also familiar with a lot of Robert Bear's stuff, and Robert Bear was really inspired by Hillman. But I think this is essentially that this idea that Hillman had was that, a lot of the pain and the struggle and things that can be seen as psychosis is like it's coming deeply from the soul. It's something that has to be expressed and worked through and worked out. There's also this maybe the difference between a spiritual psychosis, and I don't know if there is, but I think you were writing about that too. So maybe there is this thing where it's like actually this is something that's coming from a deep spiritual process, and something else is, just I don't know how to even think about those things. Maybe you could say more of how it would be different, like a spiritual psychosis and a not a spiritual psychosis.
Yeah, so I define an spiritual psychosis as something that's more kind of grounded in opening, deeper meaning, deeper connection, deep sense of, yeah, all of those sort of positive qualities. It could be kind of like a transcendental experience or a really, really like deeply personal kind of heart of the heart sort of feeling. And then a psychosis is more about, yeah, like a closing down, an aggression, a shutting off, a disconnection. And yeah, I think that one of I think the thing I was sort of touching on earlier is it's almost like psychosis has the potential to go either way, depending on traumas, depending on environment, depending on things like that. So just sort of being aware of that and aware of like how people are treated will depend on what comes through in those sort of things.
Yeah, and another thing that comes up for me is this idea that actually like consensus reality, the way how we normally function, that's like kind of insanity. And then like awakening that's coming to sanity, you know, like this whole notion of Buddhahood, that's actually sanity, but it's almost like, you know, flipping the t-shirt inside out on reality.